Welcome. I'm Jessie, and I'm a birth mother.
I'm Carrie, an adoptive mother and an adoptee.
And I'm Myrlene, a transracial adoptee from Haiti, and we are Roots.
Together, we make up the Adoption Triad. Thank you for joining us as we explore the realities of adoption from our diverse perspectives and knowledge.
We know that each adoption experience is unique and deserves to be valued and respected. We understand that our stories may not be reflective of everyone else's experiences, but we strive to represent the adoption community well.
Please note that in this series, we will delve into thought-provoking topics that may challenge your perspectives, but we encourage you to listen with an open mind and desire to learn. So pull up a seat and let's talk. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for Roots. I am Myrlene Mondesir, the Director of Adoptee Services at Abiding Love Charities. And I have my lovely colleagues, Jessie and Jamie. Jamie, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jamie Johnson, and I am the Director of Adoptive Parent Services at Abiding Love Charities and am the adoptive mom of two girls.
Yes.
My
Jessie.
name is Jessie Mattos. I'm the Director of Birth Mother Programs at Abiding Love, and I'm a birth mom.
Yes. Well, today I'm excited about this conversation. We're going to talk about gratitude, more so of how it can be a sort of a double-edged sword. And I know that adoptees talk a lot about how this need to constantly feel gratitude. But I also think this conversation it transcends to adoptive parents and birth parents. And so um I want to jump in. Jessie, let's start with you. When you think about gratitude, I know it might be a silly question, but do you associate that with your adoption story?
Uh,
Gratitude?
yes and no. I mean, I think there's elements of adoption that I'm grateful for, but it's not like I woke up one day and wanted to be a birth mom, so it's hard to
Mhm.
feel grateful for a situation that was really, really, really hard and not something that I ever wanted to experience, right? And one of my very close birth mom friends said something one day, and she said, "We didn't grow up playing with birth mom Barbie." And I'm like, yes, exactly. Like, no
Yeah.
one really wants to be in this situation and have to make this decision. And so I think we can feel grateful for maybe the care that we were provided, or like in my situation, I had some really wonderful agency staff that really encouraged me in a lot of ways in past placement. I mean, doing this work is an example of, or is a result of the support that I received from my agency. And so I can be really grateful for that. I can be really grateful for how the adoptive family has never made me feel like an obligation or anything like that. But it's hard to say that that word applies
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the
Yes.
whole
Yeah,
situation.
definitely. What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, spoiler alert, you also don't grow up playing with infertility and adoptive mom. Jesse, I think we've got some new marketing stuff that we can pitch to Mattel, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that very deeply. Like
IVF Barbie.
IVF Barbie, like she comes with her own set of 1 million needles
Syringes.
and like a bank account full of
Needles.
And a
pills.
lot of weight gain. Here you go.
Diabolical.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, nobody
would
does
not be
that.
a bestseller.
Oh my gosh. And like I want to preface this by saying like I am completely in love with my daughters and over the
Yeah,
moon to be their mother. However, like it's not the dream that I grew up like picturing how I would become
right.
a mom. And so while I am eternally grateful for both of their birth moms and the choices that they made that led them to me, I'm not grateful for their time in that story and that what
Right.
they had to go through and experience. And I'm not grateful for the inevitable like grief and trauma that my girls are going to grow up having and knowing, no matter, even if I was like the most perfect of all adoptive parents, let's be clear, that is far from the truth. Anybody that's around my house, like getting ready for school in the morning would know that is far from the truth. Um, and yeah, and so it's that double-edged sword. Like I'm so grateful to get to be their mom. Um, but there's a lot of pieces of that story that I don't
Yeah.
love so much.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Right.
interesting. When y'all were talking about the dolls, I was like, okay, is there a doll for adoptees? But it made me think though that adoptees have been romanticized. That's my opinion. I feel like you think about Annie. We all love Annie. And in a lot of movies and a lot of shows, there's always an orphan. But the orphan goes through a hard time and then they get saved by this rich family who takes them in and then they live happily ever after. And so I think, like, of course, we don't dream of being an orphan. I'm not giving my children baby dolls that are orphans. But I think it's already kind of written out for us that this is your story and you're going to live in this constant state of gratitude.
Right. Because at least
Um,
it's better than where you would have ended up. Or, yeah, there's
exactly.
this. Yeah.
So I've had many occasions where people have imposed their opinions and their thoughts of how I should be grateful, but I'm curious about y'all's experience. Um, Jamie, Jesse, you went first last time. Can you tell me about any times where maybe you were out and about at a grocery store or at church or wherever, and somebody, maybe good intentions, but y'all, good intentions does not outweigh impact, okay? Good intentions say something that it 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 reads differently, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. Yeah, no one is bolder than a senior citizen woman in the line at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Older than that. Um, but I think the thing that like has happened to me repeatedly that always like puts a little like hit in my stomach is when people say to me how lucky my children are. Like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, they are so lucky that you and your husband adopted them. Like we were that savior. We were that daddy
Mm-hmm.
4 bucks from Annie.
Yeah.
And so I almost always like my gut reaction to come back to that is like, no, 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 I'm the one that's so lucky. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, again, like neither of us are lucky, but we are so programmed to make other people feel better about what they're
Mm-hmm.
saying that we then say like, no, 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 I'm so lucky. And it becomes this like tit for tat of like,
Yeah,
who was
yeah.
luckier, me or my children? No, neither.
No,
We've
I am.
all
I
lost
am.
the lottery here.
Right.
Yeah.
I almost want to be like, what do you mean by that? How are they, how are they lucky or whatever it is?
Hmm.
Like, explain to me. What do you
Yeah,
mean? I would love to hear
exactly.
more.
Yeah.
Sure. What is so like
Yeah.
because then it all always, if I were to do that and to push further, it would bring forward their preconceived notions and unconscious bias of why these children came to live with us.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're very
Gotcha. Gotcha.
scary and dangerous.
Yeah.
And yeah,
What about you,
it's true.
Jesse? What?
Yeah, I mean, I get comments. I know Jamie and we've talked about this before, we all of us have, but one thing I hear often from other people is they'll thank me for placing. Thank you for blessing another family. Thank you for choosing life. Thank you for making this decision, whatever it is. And I never really know what to say to that because that centers the other person. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm like my in my head I want to respond sarcastically and say no problem, it was my pleasure, so happy I could do
You're
that for
welcome.
them. Yeah, 10 out of 10, 5 stars. But obviously, and given the circumstances, like, it depends on how much time I have and how little patience I have left to, if I'm gonna respond that way. But typically it is just like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a weird thing. And I know, Jamie, you and I had a conversation about like, what is an appropriate response to that does kind of, doesn't make the person feel like I'm coming after them, but almost
Mm-hmm.
makes them aware of what they just said to
How
me.
awkward
Mm-hmm.
they've made you feel in
How
that
awkward.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh gosh, like though yeah, it's just so weird. And I don't even think we came up with anything. I don't think there is like a good response to that.
Mm-hmm.
And also
That
like the
that does not come across as just like
mean,
sarcastic and
rude.
rude.
Yes, it's hard. And
Mm-hmm.
and I get it. Like it's just some. some interactions are just not worth it. So if like someone were to say that to me and I maybe knew them or had more time or felt comfortable in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
like I might dive in a little bit deeper and kind of ask and explain my take on that, but it's got to be a real specific setting, most likely like an
Yeah.
adoption setting where there's education happening already. And so it just depends. But yeah, the average
Yeah.
person at the grocery store, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
waste my time there. But yeah, it is hard. And then of course, like the thank you for choosing life type of thing, it's like, well, you don't know if I like had considered an alternative, because there's many birth moms that, go on to have abortions or have had abortions prior. And so even by saying that, like you're stating your values more than acknowledging the real person that's in front of you. And so that is just not the best thing to say anyway. And so I don't know. Yeah, I get a lot of weird comments just about, yeah, people being so
Mm.
grateful and thankful and like,
Yeah.
yeah, putting their gratefulness onto me as well. And then also feeling lucky for still having contact with the adoptive parents. That's
Mm.
another thing. I hear that all the time from moms, like, oh, I got really lucky. I got lucky. I've said it before, and we shouldn't be lucky. It should just be
Mm-hmm.
the standard for the
Right.
families to kind of keep up with what they say they're going to do and more.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear it all the time, and it's weird they say it because they don't want other moms who don't have contact to feel bad or jealous or envious of the level of communication
Mm.
that they might have. It's kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess I just got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
to kind of help moms who
Playing.
maybe aren't
Yeah.
as lucky. It
Right.
stinks.
Yeah.
How
Hard
about you,
work.
Marilyn? I'm sure that you have been lucky your whole life.
I
Tell
have.
us about your.
Yeah, I'm blessed. Blessed all the way. Sorry. You know, yeah, I mean it's just constant. And I asked about the grocery store thing because I feel like these situations happen when we least expect it, and then at the most like inconvenient times, like when you're trying to like quiet your child down or whatever. It seemed like for me, those situations always happened at the grocery store or at church. It was just random. And people would always, especially at church, come up to me and remind me that my parents were good people, that they were good. And one thing is, as I got older, I became a little bit more sarcastic. And so this wasn't sarcasm, but one time I remember the situation. It was my brother, my sister, and I, and somebody was like, oh, Mira, that, oh, you're just so blessed and so lucky. You could have died in that orphanage, which I could have. Like, these are facts, but I don't understand why we're saying it. And so I look at my brother and my sister, and I'm like, well, if we have the same parents, they're lucky too, right? Like, why are you not acknowledging to them that they're lucky? We are
Mm-hmm.
raised in the same household with the same parents. And so to me, that's kind of where I started seeing like it just the imbalance of it. And so
Yeah.
so then after a while, what I started doing is telling my siblings that they sucked so bad, like so hard, that my parents had to go all the way down to Haiti. They found me, brought me back, and never had another child, and they're
Yeah.
fulfilled.
Like we
And
did
so
it.
that's
We
that's how you
nailed
flip the
it.
script. They,
I love
yeah,
Yes.
this.
you're
I'm
welcome.
I'm sure that really was helpful for your sibling relationships. It's very helpful.
I know it was good. But no, yeah, it's constant. Um, Jessie, I had a question for you when you were talking. When people say thank you or you're so amazing. Tell me like
Amazing.
like when you placed your child, did you feel blessed and lucky
No,
in that moment?
no.
I'm not meaning to laugh. I just because I know what her answer is gonna be. That's why I'm laughing.
No, I was terrified. I was like, I mean, emotional. Like, you're not thinking of like the positives in that moment. I mean, you
Mm.
are surviving. In my situation, I was very detached from a lot of my emotions. I was young and I just didn't, I'd grown up always trying to just be as easygoing as possible and happy all the time and, low drama. And so this was an extremely dramatic situation. It was extremely emotional, and that was really hard for me to connect with anyway. Um, but no, I was scared. I was like, this felt like the only option.
Mhm.
Desperation. I mean, it's yeah, you don't feel those things, you don't think those things.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, this language is lucky and gratitude, all that kind of stuff. I've had people say things to me who don't know that I'm a birth mom, but they know I maybe work in this space or, whatever, and they've said things about adoptive parents to me. I had a comment one time where they we're like, oh, that's got to be really hard. Because those parents, I mean, that's a lot, that's a big sacrifice for them to adopt these children.
Oh yeah.
And they were like,
Hmm.
because I'm sure that these moms, they change their mind all the freaking time.
Hmm.
And I kind of was caught off guard and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, like, what do I say? It was
Hmm.
hard.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised at how many people will say things like that about adoptive parents to me, knowing that I'm not an adoptive parent, but obviously they don't know I'm a birth mom. And I'm like, oh gosh, if they knew I was a birth mom, do you think they would be saying this to me? Probably not. And
Right.
now I've got to kind of manage that conversation because now I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable and be like, do you know who you're talking to? Right? Because
Yeah.
I get it. Like they just don't know. I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but it does kind of put me
Yeah.
on the spot and I'm like, how do I respond to this? But yeah, you're not
Difficult.
feeling
Yeah.
really, I mean, some moms, yes, like extremely grateful. Thank you so much for stepping in when I
Hmm.
wasn't able to parent. There is an element of that, but you're not thinking of that really at that moment,
Right.
at
Because
the
you're,
hospital, at placement. It might be later on once you've established trust with the family and see that they really are who they say they are. That's when that
mhm.
gratitude for the family can really kind of come
Mm.
in. But sometimes that gratitude for the family has to be earned.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. It always has to be earned, I
Yeah.
think. Um, Jamie, so I know on, for play on the day of placement, there was probably a lot of mixed emotions. Did you have gratitude along with other things?
I definitely had gratitude on that day. But definitely it was probably one of the most emotionally charged days of my life. Um,
Hmm.
it's funny, I sat with a couple this week that were signing placement papers, and I sat in the hospital cafeteria with them as we went through paperwork, and their daughter was being discharged from the hospital and they were getting to go home. And it brought me back to for both of our girls. We signed our paperwork in the cafeteria of the hospital. And like that's weird, right?
Yes, it is.
You shouldn't become a parent in the hospital cafeteria,
Mm.
And so that is something that I think, like I said, that's just one of those weird things. Like I'm so excited, but at the same time, I am surrounded by literal strangers, and I don't
Mhm.
want to be too happy or too sad or too emotional. I'm worried about the woman who's upstairs, who is making such a huge decision that will bring me so much joy, and my joy is going to bring her so much pain. Also, I'm so scared because at this point, I'm there at what I have perceived at this time, like the first time for me, like I at the perceived finish line. And, but I have no control over if I'm getting over that finish line or not, because somebody else is completely in control of this situation. And so, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of different emotions all kind of wrapped up in one.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I I wonder how it manifests, right? Like how people impose this sense of gratitude on us. For a lot of adoptees, this whole idea of, you have to be you're grateful, you have to be in constant state of thankfulness. It manifests in different ways for adoptees, like a lot of adoptees, some adoptees will try to be that golden child, to do nothing wrong, right? And do everything perfect because that is the expectation. I'm my parents were so great and I'm so blessed that if I don't act accordingly, it shows that I'm ungrateful. And then also For some, it's
Mhm.
just kind of like the pressure is too much, of those expectations to be in that constant state of gratitude. And this idea of so many things existing in one space, was fairly new to me, you know, I guess in the past 4 or 5 years of I used to think I had to accept one feeling and nothing else existed. But it's that, holding space for being grateful that yes, I'm grateful I'm alive. I'm grateful that I'm here, that I'm in the United States, that I've had these opportunities. But I'm also sad and and bummed that I didn't get to understand my birth culture and live in my birth culture and live with my bio family um and I think to me understanding that both so many things can exist in one space is the sweet spot. It doesn't take away anything, doesn't take away the pain or the whatever it is, but it helps level it out. And so I wonder for y'all, is there anything over the years or recently that's kind of helped you deal with that imposed sense of gratitude, if that makes sense?
Not worrying about upsetting others with
Mhm.
my emotions, the hard
Yeah,
like emotions and talking about them. I think that's probably just like standard for all of us, to be
yeah.
honest. But yeah, I had to keep up appearances after I felt like I needed to keep up appearances after I placed because I
Mm,
had to be the perfect birth mom, right? I didn't want to do
yeah.
anything to upset anyone or give them any reason to block me. I don't know. Not that they gave me any
Hmm.
sign or reason to think that that was going to happen, but not just for the adoption, but for my family that I had maybe let down, or I mean, they're dealing with their own grief and their own secondary trauma or trauma with the situation as well. And I felt so responsible in making sure that they knew that I was okay, because I, if for, like responsible for their emotions and making sure that they were
Yeah,
okay. So I had to be okay because I didn't want them worrying about me because they already worried about me too much. And that got in the way of me processing a lot of my emotions and dealing with it all, and it caught up to me in
yeah.
major ways. And then I couldn't pretend anymore. And so once I was like just more open with like this stinks, and
Hmm.
I'm not okay,
Yeah.
that really just kind of it opened the floodgates up. I know you've heard me say this, but it's like unkinking a hose. When you
Mm.
unkink a hose, the water just
Shoot.
comes out
Yeah,
really fast. Like that's what it was for me. All of these emotions, everything came out so fast. And then slowly the pressure subsided and then things
yeah.
became steady and consistent and predictable. And so kind of working through those emotions and allowing me to be angry and have those not outbursts, but have those moments where I'm trying to figure out where I fit in and what my feelings are about adoption in
Yeah.
general, and not worrying about other people and imposing and throwing their opinions at me. Even though it was hard, I wanted to cater to how everyone else was feeling or how I thought that they wanted me to feel, but it wasn't doing me any good. So yeah, really just not
Yeah.
caring.
Yeah. I mean, you've said many times before that people would say that they wish that, if they had a birth mother like you, then, it would be good. Like, so kind
Yeah.
of tokenized. So,
Right. Yeah, I've had
yeah.
that. Like, oh, we would love to adopt, but we're just so nervous. But if we had a mom like you,
Hmm.
then we feel so much better because you're just so perfect. And I'm like,
Yeah.
first of all, you don't know me.
Yeah. You don't
Second of
know
all,
her,
please don't
yo.
adopt. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard.
What about you, Jamie?
I think one of the things that so I'm more confident in my motherhood in general. I think when you are, a first-time mom, that's hard enough. But then when you are a first-time mom that is also an adoptive mom, there is a lot of doubt and a lot of seeds of doubt that are planted in your brain. And so just, I'm more confident as a mom. At the same time, as my girls continue to get older, like I'm living this every single day with them. And as they're growing, their perceptions and realities of their adoption stories are also growing and changing. And so
Mhm.
that's tricky to navigate. And I think it's important to say that to adoptive parents that like we're not all getting this right all the time because we're still figuring it out as we're going too.
Hmm.
Totally
Yeah.
cool. doing the best. Like, I have confidence in my adoption story. I have confidence in the fact that my children's birth moms are not going to show up on my doorstep and snatch these children in the middle of the night. Like, I don't have any of those worries and fears anymore. And I say anymore because I think like that is reality too. Like, until you are in this place and living
Right.
this relationship, like you don't know what
Everyone starts somewhere.
everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, so I'm like leapfrogged over those pieces, but now it's more of how are my children processing this? How are they handling this? How are they looking at me as their adoptive mother? What are they longing for? What are they wondering? Like all of these
Mm,
pieces are the things that
yeah.
legit keep me up at night
Mm.
sometimes.
And
Mhm.
there's a lot of pressure. I mean, you've talked about it before of like because I think it's okay to say it's a transracial adoption. So all eyes are on you. Like there you and so when you're out in public and you could be having just a bad day, you just be tired, but you don't get to hide behind anything. I think it and so there's just a lot more pressures I would
Yeah.
assume of being on and being perfect and just yeah.
I'm a walking billboard for
Mhm.
adoption.
Yeah.
Because everywhere we go, it is obvious that my children are not biologically my children.
Mhm.
And so the way they came to me had to be through adoption of one
Yeah.
way or another.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's like this huge piece of that. And uh, yeah, making sure that they look a certain way and their hair is kept
Mm.
and their skin is not
Moisturized.
yeah, moisturize and like all of those pieces and that they're well behaved.
Hmm.
And I think there's also a piece of like if your child struggles in school, that somehow feels like an even bigger failure because like you saved them from this reality of this horrible environment.
Hmm.
Why are they still struggling with things?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
You
And so
know,
those are all pieces that are
yeah.
tricky.
Being that child, and we're gonna wrap up, being that child who, who had a white family, and it's kind of like a little different, but there's so much like I remember just watching my parents' reaction to the world, right? And that is, again, I talked in the previous videos, that also shapes my perception of myself and my story and my inner voice. And so, when people come up and say things about, oh, how grateful or how amazing you are, and all those other words, how your parents respond is such a big deal. And but also, knowing that you don't have to say anything, that you don't owe anybody their story, your story. And I think that's also empowering too, and probably a little bit like kind of relief a little bit. Um,
I tell adoptive parents in my coaching calls, and maybe I've talked about this on a Roots video before. I kind of use like a rule of fives. And I like when somebody has asked me something, I consider, am I going to be in a relationship with this person in 5 minutes? Am I going to be in a relationship with this person in 5 months? Am I going to be in a relationship with this person in 5 years? And
mhm,
dependent on what my answer is in my head affects how much I'm going to share and give my effort in my response, if that makes
Right.
mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good
Same with
point.
me, like especially in like Jamie, you and I met in a mom's group and when we're sitting around these tables meeting other moms and they don't know me, they don't know my story. It's like, how many children do you have? It's like, well, how much time do we have? And are you someone that's going to
Right.
be around for a little while? I mean, I have
yes,
no shame
right.
around my story, but it is like, it's always awkward because even if I'm only going to be friends with them for that season, I have to anticipate the reaction because I know when I say it, it's got to warrant some type of response and explanation, and there's got to be maybe some odd comments here and there, and I have to prepare myself for that. And so it is kind of exhausting with having to just
Hmm.
be prepared all the time for these comments that you're going to get and questions and everything. And yeah, it's a
So,
lot
Marilyn, something
sometimes.
that I hope you'll get a chuckle out of this. So, because I think about the you should be so grateful type thing. And there are times that my children will do something that is legitimately, they are just being spoiled. They're just being spoiled. And I never will allow myself to say, like, you should be so grateful. Because I mean, just
Mhm.
like as a human in general,
Yeah,
not because
right,
you are this human in this specific situation. But
right.
I feel like I can never say those
Yeah,
words to them
yeah.
because I don't, hopefully in 20 years, they're not on a podcast talking.
Oh yeah, because yeah, you'll be like, but
Made
not in
them
that way. Like,
feel so grateful that they got to eat out at dinner 4 times in one week type thing and not happy with the broccoli that's on their plate tonight. You know?
yeah, it's a loaded word.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
is.
Sure.
funny that you can't
Yeah,
like
that
a
is a
regular word that a parent might use. I mean, it goes along with like blessed, gift, like all that stuff. Like, there's so
Oh,
many
Mhm.
words that have different meanings in these situations. But yeah, I hadn't
Yeah,
considered that before.
yeah, no, that's funny. Well, this has been lovely. One thing I like about these conversations is that no matter what, we're coming from different spaces, but there's just like very similar, like we just can relate on so many different levels. And it just feels good to just know that you're not in these situations alone. And so I appreciate these conversations. And if y'all want to hear more, please like and subscribe, and we will see y'all next time.
thank you.
Yeah.